Hi, my name is Kevin Scott. I'm with Canaan, Alexander and Scott. We are a manufacturer's rep firm in upstate New York, and I'm going to explain the night wall CI system. This is a thermally isolated securement system of vertical rails that ride on top of polyiso insulation. The typical application for a night wall CI Girt system would be installed over a rigid polyisocyanurate insulation. This is the yellow insulation that's typically seen in the past on roof assemblies, and now it is being used in wall assemblies to meet the NFPA 285 fire code. Typically, you would want 25 psi polyiso, although it does come in 20, and on a job-by-job basis, Nightwall will allow a 20 psi compressive strength polyisocyanurate insulation. The facer of the insulation typically doesn't matter, but for wall facers, your options are usually a foil-faced product, which is what this is, foil facer, or a glass-coated facer. This is a fiberglass-coated facer that is typically on exterior gypboards. Those are the typical facers. And thickness of the insulation is typically maxed out at 4 inches. We can do anything from 1 inch all the way up to 4 inches, and really it's just a function of the length of the screw. But the night wall securement system can handle up to 4 inches with a max of 15 pounds per square foot of cladding. These night wall rails come in 10-foot lengths and are pre-punched every 8 inches. And our typical installation is to have a fastener every 16 inches going up the wall. These are always installed vertically. If you need a horizontal installation, then you would look at the HCI system, which I've discussed in a previous video. So every 8 inches or every 16 inches, depending on cladding weight, wind loading, and other variables that night wall will dictate. And so most applications are every 16 inches. So these holes are pre-punched, and what you would do is put this rail right on top of the insulation. So if you can imagine, if you're using this type of an insulation, either Hunter Panels or Carlisle, that's what we represent. There are other manufacturers that we can go over, but in my area, I certainly would prefer Carlisle or Hunter. So after you put the insulation on the wall, which would typically go over an air barrier or over exterior gypsum board, then you put these rails right on top of your insulation. So if you can imagine, this is the exterior face of insulation. You put these rails on. In some situations, tape will go on the insulation before the rail goes on, so that when the screw penetrates the insulation, it's actually penetrating a tape first, and that tape will help seal around the fastener to prevent any air leaking through. However, if you have an air barrier already applied to your exterior gypboard, then the use of a tape is not necessary. But if your insulation, if you're going to use an exterior insulation and you're going to tape all the seams of your insulation, and your insulation is going to be your air barrier, then you must use tape wherever you put a rail, so that the air is, or so that the screw is sealed for air leakage. So after these rails go up, then you have the screw. These screws come from the factory, just as you see them here, with a stainless steel washer and what's called a thermal isolator. These screws come in different lengths, up to about 6 inches, and they come with a drill point or a masonry point, depending on your substrate, which you need to let Nightwall know about. But you don't have to put anything together. These screws come just like this. Pull them out of the box and put this right into the insulation and drive it through back to the stud. Now that you've installed all of your Nightwall CI Girt rails, with these screws, there are actually 8 screws per stud, so you can kind of figure out how many you're going to need per 10-foot section. So 10-foot section of the Nightwall CI Girt has 8 of these screws. If you're going 16 inches on center, you double that if you're going to go 8 inches, but I don't think I've done a job where we've ever needed 8 inches. So after the Nightwall's securement rails are installed, the Girts are installed, then you can go right to work with the additional securement for either a metal panel, or this is a securement for a terracotta tile. So this securement system would go on top of the night wall securement system and get screwed into place there and there or wherever else you need it. And we've done night wall with metal panel, with terracotta, fiber cement panels, 1/2-inch thick concrete tiles, just about anything. It can handle pretty much any weight. If you have any questions, please look me up at Canaan, Alexander, and Scott on Facebook or at our website at casreps.com. And again, my name is Kevin Scott.